So in the last video we made this table using nothing but a bunch of cubes and simple transformation. However, this is a very bad way to make a table, because now that if we want to move the table, we have to select everything and make sure we don't select anything else other than the table. Okay, so hit B and hold down the middle mouse button to drag a rectangle. This will deselect the light. Okay, now we can move the table. So this is a very terrible way of handling the table. And another problem is that this table has a terrible size and very unprecise. So take a look at this panel here. If the panel is not here like this, you can hit N on the keyboard to bring it up. Alright, so the x dimension of the table is almost 4 meter, and the y dimension of the table is almost 7 meter. So this table is gigantic, so obviously this is wrong. So in this video you will learn how to properly model something using the edit mode and modifier. Okay, so let's get started. First, we need to get rid of all the stuff except the tabletop. Okay, so select everything and hit X to bring up, to delete, and click delete to confirm. Now this leaves us with just the tabletop. Now we need to set a proper size for the tabletop. Okay, so set the X dimension to 1.2 and the Y dimension to maybe 2 meters, and the thickness of the tabletop should be around 0.02. So now we have a proper tabletop. However, notice that the scale value here is messed up, and this will be a problem later on, but I will leave this as is for now so that I can show you the problem. Now set the Z position for the tabletop to 0.75. There we go. Okay, so the next thing to do is to cut this tabletop into 4 quarters, and then we will delete 3 quarters and only work on 1 quarter, and then we will duplicate the quarter into the other 3 quarters. Okay, so to do that we need to switch to edit mode. So far we have been dealing with objects in object mode, and you can see the menu up here. We have several different modes for the objects, and we have edit mode over here. Now clicking on this menu is the slow way of doing things. We can just hit tab to go to edit mode and hit tab again to go out of edit mode, or you can hold down Control Tab to bring up the pie menu and move your mouse cursor to the right and then release the Control Tab buttons, and this will bring us to the edit mode. Again, you can hold down Control Tab and go to object mode like that, and you can go into the other modes as well. So in the future this will become your second nature, and you can switch modes very quickly like that without the need to go all the way up here and click this menu and change to other modes. So yeah, let's go to edit mode using the tab key on the keyboard. We need to cut this into 4 quarters, right? So the way we do that is to use the loop cut tool. The hotkey is Control R. The other hotkey, Shift Spacebar, is the key to bring up the same tool panel right inside the viewport. Okay. Now, by the way, if the tool panel is not here, you can click this icon up here, or hit T on the keyboard to bring it up. Now you can click the loop cut tool and then click on the edges to add a loop cut, or you can just use the hotkey Control R and it will do the same. So click here, and now you can drag the loop cut around like so, but I want it to be exactly at the center, so I will just right click to leave it exactly at the center like so. And again, add another loop cut for the Y dimension. Now it is time to remove the 3/4. So select these vertices and then hold down Shift and add these vertices to the selection. There we go. And now you can hit X to bring up the delete menu, and you can choose delete vertices to get rid of the vertices. Now this leaves us with just 1/4. And the pivot, this little yellow orangey dot here, this is the pivot, the origin of the object. It's exactly at the corner of the quarter here, which is exactly the center of the table. So tap to go out of edit mode. Now this is a good time to talk about the active object and the modifier of the objects. So when you select multiple objects, notice that one of the objects highlight in yellow while the others highlight in orange. This yellow means that it is the active object, and whatever appears in here depends on which object is the active one. So I can hold down Shift and click on this camera to make it the active object. We can see that the property panels now carry the properties of the camera. Okay, these 5 tabs up here belong to the scene, so we don't deal with that for now. These tabs down here, these belong to the active objects. Okay, so Shift and click this to make this the active object, and you can hit Shift and click again to deselect it. Alright, so make sure that the table is the active object. Now we have the modifier tab, which belongs to the active object. Okay, so go to the modifier tab, and now you can add a modifier called mirror. Now the mirror modifier will mirror the quarter over the x-axis to make the other side. Okay, and we can turn on the y-axis as well, and this will mirror whatever on one side to the other side of the y-axis. Now we have a nice tabletop, and we can go back in edit mode and select this vertex and see what happens if we move it. So whatever we do to 1/4, the other 3/4 will follow. Okay, so that is what the mirror modifier do. Okay, so now we can just make 1/4 of the table, and the other will complete themselves. Alright, so Control R again, and roll the mouse wheel to add more loop cuts. Okay, and this time we will add 2 loop cuts, and place them down here like so, and SX to scale along the x-axis like so, and GX to bring it to the side a little. Alright, and Control R again, and this time add 2 loop cuts like so, and SY to scale it along the y-axis like so, and GY to bring it to the corner like that. Alright, let's add some more loop cuts like so. So far we have been dealing with just vertices. Okay, so the edit mode of the mesh objects, the cube, has 3 different selection modes: the vertex selection, which is the active mode, the edge selection, and the face selection. The hotkeys for these 3 modes is 1, 2, and 3. So 1 for vertices, 2 for edges, and 3 for faces. Okay, so we will choose face selection mode for now, and go down here, select these faces like so. Now we need to extrude this face down a little, But if we GZ to bring it down, you can see that the faces are all messed up. So we need to kind of create new geometry for the table. So notice in the tool panel we have the extrude region. In the shortcut, the hotkey is E. So hit E to bring down the faces like that, and Blender will create these new faces for us. Okay, now hold down Shift and get rid of the other two faces, and now we can extrude this down to the ground. Go to the right view and GZ to bring it down like that. Now we have a nice looking table, and this table is just one single object, and we can move it however we like. And we only need to edit one quarter of the table. The other 3 quarters will follow this quarter. It's much simpler, yes? Now look what happened if we add a bevel modifier. Now the bevel modifier should bevel the edges of the table. However, we can see that the bevel is not uniform, and some edges don't seem to have any bevel at all, which is not right, yes? So this is because the mesh has messed up scale values, and ideally, in order for the bevel modifier to work properly, we need to set these all to 1. However, if we set these to 1, then look what happened to our table. It's like this. So this is all messed up, right? So we need to set this back to 0.01. So instead of setting these values to 1, we need to apply the transformation. So hit Ctrl A to bring up the Apply menu and choose Apply Scale. This will reset the scale value to 1 without changing the shape of the table. And now you can see that the bevel modifier now works properly. And we can go down to the bevel modifier and change the width of the bevel to 0.01 maybe, or even smaller, 0.001. There we go. And now we have some nice bevel for the edges of the table. Now we also want this center point to be down here, right? Because right now the Z location is 0.75, which is not ideal, and if we set this to 0, we can see that the table is below the ground. So set this back to 0.75 and hit Ctrl A again, and this time apply location. Now this will reset the location of the table while leaving the geometry as is. Okay, so to recap, in this video you learned about the edit mode, tap in and out, the pie menu, okay, the three selection modes of the edit mode, the extrude command, and the loop cut command, and also a bit about modifiers. Alright, so the next video we will step up the game a little and make some chairs for the table and learn some new tools along the way. I'll see you next time.